Do you have ADHD? My name is Eric. I have ADHD. If you're new here, hit the like and subscribe button because I know that you already looked at the time of how long this video was to even determine if you're going to watch it or not. That's part of having ADHD. When we have ADHD, our brain never stops. Our brain is always hitting different thoughts. That's why you at work or even having a conversation, you can get bored really easily. Even though we're in the middle of doing something, you can get bored in your brain. If you know what I'm talking about, yep, you probably are ADHD. Now, even when you're having a conversation, if you're not engaging in that conversation, after the conversation, you are asked a question, do you say, huh? Because you were in the conversation, but you weren't mentally in the conversation because your brain was thinking about different things? That's part of what having ADHD is. I mean, we start a million different projects in our head, but we never even start them. I mean, do you hoard stuff in a sense? Do you have like 1,000 projects that you're supposed to get back to because you spent 2 or 3 hours and you started this project and you don't want to get rid of the stuff because you are going to come back to that project and it gets in the project pile and it just becomes overwhelming? I mean, that's what ADHD is. I mean, can you find a simple task that you get actually overwhelmed doing it because as you're doing that task, your brain is thinking about other tasks that you need to do? ADHD is literally our brain constantly going. One of the big stigmas around ADHD, you don't have to have a lot of energy. You don't have to be bouncing off the walls. That's having energy. That's not having ADHD. ADHD is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. What that also means is, I mean, are you spontaneous? If you quit a job and then you look back and you're like, shit, I shouldn't have quit this because you made a spontaneous decision, or you went on a road trip, or you did something out there and you do stuff out there that you don't think it all the way through. And then you're done. You're like, man, I knew better than that. Or if I would have thought about it more, I wouldn't have made that decision. And maybe they aren't always the best decisions. I mean, that's part of what having ADHD is. I mean, if you find yourself hard to keep a job because you get bored with that job, you quit that job, you start another job, you look back and the job that you quit wasn't as bad as what you remember it now being. I mean, that's part of what ADHD is. Can you drink caffeine drinks and take a nap afterwards? Where you see somebody who drinks a Red Bull or they drink a pot of coffee and they are energized like no other, and you're not necessarily feeling that same energy. In fact, you notice yourself going and taking a nap. Did my cat jumping up here right now distract you more than me talking to all of a sudden see the shadow next to me going, wait, what was that? I mean, that is part of what having ADHD is. Our brain is always picking up on different things and our thought process is always shifting. It's kind of frustrating. And in fact, it can make life very, very difficult. It's very hard to get organized. I mean, if you have trouble remembering even where you put stuff, we'll put stuff down and you know what? All of a sudden, next thing you know, where did we put that? We're constantly trying to get organized. And then we think we might even have control over our ADHD. And guess what? We go buy a planner and we plan out our whole month. And we are so proud of ourselves for planning out the whole month because I got control over this. And then 2 days later, you're not even opening up the planner. And guess what? It's in the pile with the rest of those planners because it's not the first time that you've done this. I mean, that's what ADHD is. And ADHD is something that you're never going to outgrow. And it can be a little bit of a battle. And it can affect your relationship. It can affect your job. It can affect your life in many different ways. And it's because your brain is never slowing down. I mean, relationships, we can get bored in a relationship. Next thing you know, we're bored in a relationship. And then we leave the relationship. And then guess what? We realize that was a spontaneous decision. The relationship wasn't as bad as what we remember it being. Because now our logical brain is set in and not our impulsive, not thinking it through, just jumping to conclusions. Brain was at the helm right there. It just kept us going and we had to do this. I mean, that is what ADHD is. ADHD is a bit of a fight and it is a struggle for anybody out there. And again, you're never going to cure ADHD. We get this gift for the rest of our life. And there are lots of benefits to having ADHD. And that's why I share a lot about it on my channel because you don't have to be a victim to it. You can actually work with it and fight with it to keep pushing through in life. But if you answered yes to a lot of this stuff and my cat is more distracting to you than actually the words that I'm saying, that is part of having ADHD. You lose track and your brain instantly jumps on different things. Have you ever been addicted to video games where you notice that video games are actually calming? Because your brain is constantly being stimulated and next thing you know, you lost hours playing a video game. Might want to get tested for ADHD. I mean, this isn't to diagnose anyone. This is to give you a quick rundown if you have ADHD or not. I have ADHD. I was diagnosed originally ADD, later on ADHD. My name is Eric. And it's a fight. Adderall has become one of the tools that I use to make it through life, along with the to-do list. But definitely get with your doctor, get tested for it. And find out if you do, because once you get the proper treatment for ADHD, you're no longer a victim to it, and man, life becomes beautiful again. Hit that like and subscribe button, hit the bell if you want to be notified, comment down below. In the description box are links to all my different social medias, links to peer-to-peer support community and Discord, even have a link down below to things on Amazon that I use for fidget cubes, fidget spinners for my anxiety. Have a link down below even to BetterHelp, trial and error when it comes to therapy, because you matter and because you got this. So when it comes to ADHD, ask your doctor about it. If you answered yes to a majority of this and you are glad that the video is almost over, you probably got ADHD. So go get tested.